Hey everyone, I am Paul Baker. I am the CEO for the Greater Idaho Falls Chamber of Commerce, and I am here today with Mosy Moran, who is running for City Council here in Idaho Falls. And as part of our interview series, I've asked Mosy to come and spend a little time with me and kind of tell me a little bit about kind of why he's doing what he's doing and what's important and what's high on his list and all those great things. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Great to see you again.
Yeah, thank you. So, Mosy, first off, I appreciate everything that you've been doing for us as a chamber over the last year and stuff. And
It's been so much fun.
congratulations on everything you've been doing at the Heart as
Yeah.
well.
It's just doing events like we've done, and then throwing my own events. It's always that shows me the beauty of this community
Yeah.
with the problems and the celebrations.
Right.
It gives me the full nuance to understand what the city is, and have even a deeper connection to it.
That's true. It's true, and it kind of goes back to if you have to get into it and get involved to really understand what's
Yeah.
going on. So.
Yeah. Well, it's impossible to fully understand anything until you are in it.
Yeah. That's true.
And then you find your place in it. And I've definitely found my place in the city when it comes to events and being able to show up and have a loud voice, sometimes annoying.
No, well, Mosy, tell us a little bit about why you've decided to run for city council.
Yeah, it was largely because people asked me to. They saw me standing up for not only myself, my business, but also other people in the community.
Mm-hmm.
They saw me showing up no matter what, even with my mom passing, with my business being shut down, all these things happening at one time, dealing with a few racism situations that shut down very important relationships with me. During that time, I was still able to show up, and that was appreciated among a lot of people in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically bothered me until I felt like I had an understanding of what city council was, and I had actual plans just from talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point it just made sense.
Yeah, and so tell us just a little about you then. So what's your background? How did you end up here in Idaho Falls?
Yeah,
all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I have been coming to Idaho Falls since I was about 12 years old when my sister moved here. Then I went to Bonneville High School for a few months my freshman year because of some problems that I had at home. But when I finally moved here, I was about 15, I think, 14, 15, somewhere in there. And I was already familiar with the community. It was already home. I already went to a few churches in town. I'd already helped out with a few churches in town. And then through that, I got my GED. Shortly after that, I was still 15, just barely turning 16 when I did that. So I had made my roots here. I had my kids here. I started my business here. All the while, always working with churches, nonprofits. Honestly, just going out in the community. One of my favorite things at events is there being extra food. So when I was like 16 years old, newly got my license, I would drive around and give food to people, just some people in need.
Yeah.
Either that, or I would, if I had a moment, I would sit down and have lunch with them and talk to them. And
That's great.
And so I've always been a servant at the end of the day, which is where my name comes from. And so that's just always been who I was. Whether it was Hope for the Homeless at 3 a.m., 12 years old in Sacramento, or if it's driving around town giving people rides and showing up wherever I could, and becoming a mentor to some people, which is how I got into mental health.
Oh wow. So yeah, expand on that a little bit in terms of what you've been doing in that space and kind of what you've seen, especially here in Idaho Falls.
Yeah, a big thing that I've seen in Idaho Falls is people need to be able to get around. There's not a consistent public transportation that's affordable enough. Gift is a wonderful thing, but it's not an option for people who need to go to work every single day. And seeing people trudging through the snow, losing jobs because they can't get a ride, that's not good for the economy. That's not good for commerce. That's not good for the community in a whole. Mm-hmm. It also puts them in danger of other things as well when it comes to being in the middle of traffic. When it comes to being taken advantage of, there's so many situations that is affected. Most of the situations that I have been around, I have been effective in, could have been at least partially alleviated by public transportation. So that's something that I think would be extremely good, not only for public safety, not only for commerce, but for just people in general.
Mm-hmm.
And we have such a high suicide rate right now, and the biggest cause of depression is isolation.
Right.
And so that's something that happens a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. So I guess like it would be good for me also to kind of get an understanding as to what do you feel that you as a person kind of brings to the table in terms of a city council seat. So we've got, a specific number of seats that we got that are up for election right now. Your seat in particular is a very busy one in terms of the amount of people that have thrown their hat in the ring to want to sit in that council, which is a good thing, I think, to know that there are people out there that are willing to do that. It's fantastic. But what is the thing that will set you apart from everybody else, you think?
It's my deep connection with everybody from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill. I have, for example, the last time I saw you, you were at the symphony, right?
Yeah.
I was sitting in the front row. Did you notice I left a little bit early?
I saw that,
Yeah, I left a little bit early because I had to go to another concert in town. And that was a mixed concert. There was rappers at the concert. There was metal bands and punk bands at the concert. And so going from jazz was my first love, and then I got into chamber music later, and I got into symphony music later. But jazz and plays were my first love. And so I fell in love with music, fell in love with art. What that showed me was it doesn't matter if you really enjoy something in the community, but the fact that somebody in your community does means that they should be means that they are still part of your community. It means that you should support what they are doing, and you should pour into that more, because it's just good for us to connect in that way. That's all art is connecting. And so I'm somebody who loves connecting people who wouldn't make sense. This part of town to this part of town, this person to that person, the person who's in love with jazz to the person who's into heavy metal, and somehow they meet, and it's always beautiful when we have that connection. So at the end of the day, what I bring to it is the perspective and the practical plans, the baseline plans. Because of the connection I have with people, I don't have this giant ego where I have to be right. My favorite thing is saying, I don't know, you might know this better, so tell me about it. Like it's one of my favorite things about myself is that my first go-to is, I probably don't know anything about what you're talking about, but you have the experience too. And
right.
That's what I bring to that.
Well, that's a great and humble approach to bring to the table, which is fantastic and needed, I think, especially during a time where there's a lot of folks working siloed, you know, and there's a lot of divisiveness as well that kind of happens too along the way. I guess, like, from your perspective, then we've experienced growth, and we've seen a lot of things happen and change. How do we go about, and specifically from your role as a city council member, to kind of make sure that we keep the sense of community and identity while also managing growth the right way?
Yeah, so I think we will not be able to get rid of growth. Growth will always happen, no matter what. But what we can do is incentivize not only our community, but people coming from outside of our community to use local, to use local businesses, which is why I've been pitching the idea of a registry of local vendors that people building things can use. And if their project is covered by a certain percentage of these vendors, then they get incentives. They get impact fee incentives, utility incentives, permitting incentives, things like that, which also comes into play for not regulating, but incentivizing people to build in the areas that are better for the community. So if you build in this area, you get this incentive. If you build in this area that the city overwhelmingly does not want you to build in, then you're not going to get the same incentives. And so that's something that we can actually practically do that doesn't have to steep in the tax law, that doesn't have to be so inconvenient for people, and it's not bringing more people in. It is just making sure the people that are here and the people that are we know are going to come are focused on local. Because if we boost the commerce of the city and we boost the economy of the city, it helps everybody. And we'll have and I believe in a small government with a big impact. We should be doing as much as possible to not charge somebody fees and for have that money to stay locally as well. So not giving a tax break just because not giving a impact fee break just because somebody is rich and powerful, but giving people impact breaks when it matters for the community. So now that money doesn't go to the city, that money goes to the people. It goes to the local businesses, and it creates that generational wealth.
Yeah. So how, I like the idea. I guess like the challenges you're going to face with that is more budgetary.
Sure.
And I guess so. How do you feel like you'll be able to approach that with your fellow city council members to be able to get that kind of support to create that incentive program?
Yeah. So I'm a collaborator, and I believe that that if there's not a voice being heard, that it needs to be heard. And I can guarantee that most local businesses are going to be behind this idea. I can guarantee it. Why? Because I already go to these local businesses and I've already talked to them. So if city council is not on board with something like this because it might slash their paychecks, or it might make it so we can't have $1 million sign somewhere, or we can't do these a project that somebody's really passionate about, but it's not necessarily the focus of the community as a whole. What I'm going to do is communicate that with the people. So when it comes time for a city council to talk about it, the people already know. Oh, we're talking about this. Well, let's show up at city council meeting. Because right now, not a lot of people show up at those.
Right.
But mainly it's because they don't know when it's happening and they don't know what we're talking about. So and if we upgrade our communication, and not in an expensive way, because there's so many ways to communicate very inexpensively. If we start to do that, we'll start to see more public interaction with the city, and then we will stay true to the city working for the people and not the people working for the city.
Yeah, and do you feel like that's the way it's been this last little while from what you're
That's
saying?
how it feels. So whether or not it is the truth behind it, that's how the people feel. That's why we had the parking situation downtown. That's why we have so many situations where the city council has made a decision, and then all of a sudden now there's an uproar after the decision is made, instead of it being a collaborative process between city council and the people. And it's a lot easier for city council to connect with people than it seems.
Right.
Because I love going to the fundraisers. I love going to the mixers and the symphony and things like that, which city council people go to all the time. I love those things. They're so much fun. But what needs to happen is a city council person needs to have the time and the willingness to go to the soup kitchen. Not to go and politic, but to just walk through, have the same experience, and understand what people are going through. Needs to, if they see somebody walking every single day from their home to their job, they need to get out of the car and walk that same route to see how that feels, and making sure that they actually understand what the city is going through. Because if we can't do that, then we're not going to be able to actually affect any change. And I don't care how many people are on city council, if they all are part of an echo chamber, then it's not going to work out. Reference back to the parking issue. So many people didn't want paid parking. We have a liaison in that department, but what seemed to happen was the IFDDC, which works as an agent of the city, was not checking with the people. Then obviously city council wasn't checking with the people. So what ended up happening, it ends up being two echo chambers that came into one room, made a decision. Everybody hated it. Almost everybody hated it. A majority. And even if that would have been good for the community, that is not the way you get things done. That is not fair, and it is not a collaborated effort, and that is governance without representation.
Yeah. I mean, I hear what you're saying. We've been an organization here since 1904, and our role is to advocate for the business community, but not unless we're engaged with, can we actually start to form a collaborative approach to something. And so there are times where it can feel a certain way, especially when we're trying to. Everybody collectively, I would say, in the community is trying to improve the community all the time. And it does take mutual effort. You know? So I've definitely felt that since I got here as a chamber CEO, that I need to up the efforts in terms of how I communicate with our members.
Sure.
Which got 758 of them.
Yeah.
Right. Big companies, small companies, tiny companies.
Yeah.
But I guess like, where's that crossover for you happen, where you will have these city council meetings, especially when it comes to budgets, where there has been no one sitting in those meetings with the city council. How do we change that, and how do you get them more engaged?
Just doing it. City council shouldn't be as a cushy job where you just meet every other week or a couple times a month. That's not what it should be, in my opinion. We should be advocates for the whole community. And if somebody is not available to be an advocate, I'm pretty available during the day. I do most of my events and things like that at night, so I'm fairly available during the day. I'm able to jump around. I'm able to experience what the city is like, and what needs to be happening is just go to the meetings, and not during election season only. I was talking to people from the Fraternal Order of Police, and I asked them how often do city council people come in sit in, and they're like never, only during election season. They have a meeting a month. A city council person can't show up once a quarter. Like there's a willing disconnect at that point.
Right.
It exists, and you're talking about police in town. So show up, because if they would have showed up, they would have known that it was a bad idea to shoot down a police union when they did way back when that was on the docket for the city council. They would have known that. From who I've talked to, there's overwhelming support for that. The fire department has it, but the police department doesn't have it, and the police department is overwhelmed. But how are we going to know that if we don't show up? Do we just wait until it's time to vote for it, and then hopefully for the police department, somebody has enough of the gall to show up to the city council meeting and to make a big enough fuss about it after they're already about to vote on it?
Yeah.
That's not how that should work. It should be the exact opposite. We should be connecting first, voting last.
Okay. Okay. Well, I like that. Let me kind of switch the conversation topic a little bit and actually come back to infrastructure.
Yeah.
We talked about public transportation, but I guess one of the big things that we hear often is like the growth that we're seeing, and that the infrastructure is not matching what we need right now in terms of the numbers of people that we're seeing coming into Idaho Falls, myself included. Like in the last 4 years, I'm a newbie to the town, right? And I say this to people a lot, that I grew up in a town in Dublin. It was a smallish town. It was a big city, don't get me wrong. But it exploded exponentially in the 90s, and when I go back, I don't recognize the town that I grew up in sometimes. Certain streets, but the vibe and everything's different. How do you kind of think the city council should kind of consider where it should make its investments in infrastructure, while also making sure we don't lose that sense of community also?
Yeah, so that goes back to the incentive plan that I was talking about, incentivizing people to build in certain areas, have their businesses in certain areas, and also incentivizing them to use locally, as well as healing the relationship between the city, the county, and the surrounding cities as well. So Ammon, and like I talked about this the other day, Ammon should have gift, but for some reason that broke down a few days before it was supposed to be enacted. And so those are situations that we need to talk about more. It shouldn't just be, hey, this is our regular check-in with Bonneville County, and then there's no communication outside of that. There's no collaboration outside of that. It should be an ongoing thing constantly. That's how communication works. You've done events before. If there's not constant communication, things fall apart. And Idaho Falls is such a great city, but if we continue this divide between what the city government is doing and what the people want, it's going to degrade. And so what needs to happen for that is we need to see where are these impact fees going, where are they coming from, who are they affecting? Because me personally, if there's a business in town that wants to build and it's good for the city, the zoning makes sense, the people are in support of it, like rec centers and things like that, then those impact fees could be lessened. But if somebody is going against everything that the city stands for, then those impact fees stay. And we need to be incentivizing rather than regulating, because the cool thing about growth is that it brings new perspectives. But the hard thing about growth is that it could lose the perspective of people who have been here for a long time. So I don't think we need to choose either or. We can do both at the same time and say, hey, all right, we're not. I believe in smaller government with a big impact. So, hey, we don't want you to build this in this spot, but we do need it over here. If you're willing to do that, we'd love for you to have this incentive to build over here. We'd love to have this business over here, not just chains either, but local businesses, so we can really support the community and make sure money is staying here in Idaho Falls.
So how do you, with your plan, then ensure that folks who own property, that they don't have their rights impacted on, so that, and one thing that we do enjoy here in the state of Idaho is that property rights, the individual can fundamentally build something, whatever they want, fundamentally, subject to zoning and everything.
Zoning, I think, needs to be consistent. I do not like the fact that one of the rules that they can do right now is to say, well, this is zoned for this, and the things around it are zoned for that. So let's just make it zoned for that too. I don't like that, because what ends up happening is if you have a whole area zoned for residential, and then you have a commercial right here, but then somebody goes, I want residential there too, and so they come in and buy that up, and then they go, okay, I would like to change the zoning to residential. Right now they have a go with the trend mentality, where now you have a bunch of residential, but then there's no businesses to serve them.
Right.
There's no food to serve them. So what do? They end up having to come downtown for everything. They end up having to go on 17th Street for everything. And so and what does that cause? More traffic. It makes it so transportation in general is harder. It's harder on just to enjoy things. Dense housing is okay when they have somewhere to go and they're able to get to those places. But if they don't, then we're going to end up with more of what we have on 4th of July every year, which is so hard. And so we have to make sure that we're not just going, oh, there's all this residential, let them do another residential right in the middle. Right. We need to have the focus of how can we create these little communities within our communities that are connected to the community as a whole, and not just accepting just the easy route, but saying no.
Well, Mosy, I appreciate the time that you've given me today, and I would love for you to just kind of share your platform speech, really. As to why people should vote for you and what are you standing for.
Yeah, for sure. So I have the three things. The government transparency and communication, which I plan on using social media just like I do right now. Very short videos, informative videos telling people exactly what's going on, as well as internal communication with the different departments where they actually collaborate instead of it being a push and pull. Local business advocacy, which I've talked a little bit about, where for one, I think there should be a position in either a position or somebody needs to take on the responsibility of walking people through what processes look like for starting a business or change of use, like what I had to deal with, and things like that. So it's not a guessing game. This is how you do this. If there's an organization that wants to shut down the road for an event, they should be able to have a clear cut. You do this, this, and this, then boom.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be up to we don't like it. It should be a clear cut thing. It shouldn't be a back and forth all the time. With the local business advocacy, that local business registry as well, tied to incentives, so we can have businesses like Mel's Lock and Key and other contractors that are building, that they get the funds instead of it going out of Idaho and Idaho Falls. So have that registry built in with incentives, and then public transportation. And public transportation does not need to look like all of a sudden we have a huge bus system. We don't need that.
Right.
We need to have a more measured approach.
Yeah.
For me, do 17th Street first. Let's have a bus system down 17th Street first, then Broadway, or 17th then Broadway. Like we can do either one of those. Then go to the streets that we know. If you've been here for longer than a few months, you know what roads need public transportation.
Sure.
Sunnyside, 17th, First Street, Lincoln, Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be pretty easy to connect all those things. Not going through the middle of neighborhoods. That's what GIFT is for. If you need to get to those main streets, that's what GIFT is for. It's a supplemental service. But having it down the main streets to connect one side of the city to the other to actually better people's lives.
Yeah.
I am all for practical solutions. I don't want to say a bunch of stuff and repeat a bunch of stuff like, we work for the people and I don't like this plan. If you don't like a plan, you should have a plan. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and end up hurting people because we're taking things away without having a replacement that makes sense. And it needs to make sense to everybody, because hey, as a business owner, I want people to make more money.
Yeah.
Now, most of my plans don't actually affect my business directly. They just don't. Like you probably can tell that.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is, as we grow up those the locals, then the local businesses grow with it, and that's what I want to see. I want to see comfort. I want to see a baseline that makes sense. I want to see that suicide rate drop. I want to see people able to experience Idaho Falls and not have to work so hard to the point that they can't walk around a river. It's a beauty. We're right out. I'm probably gonna go walk the river right after this. After every time I've seen you, I think I'm gonna walk the river. Yeah. I want people to experience Idaho Falls for what I remember it being back when I used to visit, and then when I remember it being when I finally moved here, and the things that I'm able to experience because I don't have a normal job.
Well, I just want you to know I appreciate you. I've been saying to folks that I've been chatting with who were running for city council and for mayor that it is a tremendous and arduous undertaking at times to be on a campaign trail. Yeah. And especially to kind of have that public scrutiny that comes with it as well. It's not for the faint of heart at all. So thank you for being willing to do that.
Of course. And I don't do the identity politics thing. I do the people. Yeah. I'm here for the people. I'm here with the people. So.
Well, I appreciate that, Mosy, and congratulations on doing all you're doing.
Thank you
for being here today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
Well, thank you, everybody. We'll have several more interviews coming up with several other folks that are running for city council. So thank you to Mosy again, and thank you for watching. Thanks.